Hey guys, welcome to the stable. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that just a little teaser shot there. Ended up washing the boss today, as you guys can see. It's running great. So, little disclaimer, maybe a little foreshadow. We took the car to the track twice now, and I think I got 5 to 6 quarter-mile passes on it already. It's running great. So as soon as I finish up this whole build series, we'll be posting the track videos. But I just wanted to jump in here because I think it's important to talk about everything that went wrong, and I don't like watching YouTube videos where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do a install," and you see them do a supercharger or whatever, and just everything goes smooth and it's just done. Because turning wrenches in my garage, it never goes like that, or even over in my parents' garage, it never goes that smooth. So, and this is the point of the whole build, kind of where the wheels fell off. So I got a little paper here talking about everything that went wrong. So we'll go ahead and get into that. Um, so my kind of background with turning wrenches, mainly where I did a lot of my learning from, besides being out in the garage with my dad, was learned everything on my 96 2-valve Mustang, which is very different from a Coyote. So everything was just trying to research and be as prepared as possible, watching YouTube videos, researching things on Facebook forums, Facebook groups, whatever. But kind of my downfall was just jumping in and being so excited to kind of start this and trying to be on a time crunch because we're supposed to go racing on the 27th, which the track needed repair, so it didn't happen anyways. So first time dealing with the fuel system, especially one to this extent, and we had many fuel leaks. We had fuel leaks all over. Pretty much every single fitting we put together, we had to go back and redo. So that was a big one. The AC belt, didn't know it was a stretch to fit. I kind of skipped that part of my research, and people usually cut that belt to get it off. I muscled it off, so when I tried to put it back on, it was like that much, like too long. So had to wait for a new belt to come in, and then that's a hassle. There's good YouTube videos out there showing you little tricks to get that belt on there. I vaguely kind of talk about it in the video. We moved the heat exchanger forward, which was a bad move because it ended up hitting on the bumper right where the Boss grill is. So we had to move it back to where I had it the first time, and then it was good. I talked about missing a Y fitting in one of the videos, maybe in the previous one. Turns out we had it, but that held us up trying to figure out how to connect hoses and which hoses needed to connect. But turns out we didn't. I ordered extra Y fitting and we didn't even need it. First start, it's going to come later in this video, but when I did it on my own, I tried to, I think, put it in gear, and the whole car just jumped forward, so I had to turn it off real quick. The clutch was stuck to the floor, so problem with that was I should have done a bench bleed on the slave cylinder, and I overlooked that, so I had to pretty much put the system in a vacuum and then just pump the clutch just repeatedly to try to get as much air out as possible. And I can't even tell you how many times I pumped that clutch because it was a lot. So do a bench bleed on that before you guys install it. It will save you a headache and a bunch of time. And then the big part that turned out to be a blessing in disguise was my tuner Majid, who's overseas, fantastic tuner, highly recommend him. He's seen on the data log that my timing was off, so that told me we needed to go back and look at the timing chains from when I did the oil pump gears, and it turns out my back chain was just slightly out in front of the other one. It was a tooth off, which if you looked at the colored links, half the colored link was out in front of the other one. So that ended up being a blessing though, because I seen that when I did the oil pump, put the gears in there, remounted the oil pump itself to the motor, I put 2 bolts in the wrong place, which caused the guide to be curved and eventually break from the couple starts we did. So thankfully, nothing happened. Engine didn't get locked up from, mistiming it. Plastic wasn't in there. We flushed the whole oil out of there a couple times to make sure. And then once I corrected the bolt, new guide, got it timed up correctly, put everything back together again, and the car just fired up. It sounded night and day different, was much better. But I just wanted to jump in here and tell you guys about that, tell you about all the mistakes that were made. Like I said, this video was kind of long. I'm not trying to add too much time on it here because I took a bunch of time out of it, but I feel like it's still pretty informational, and I still want to get it out there just so if people have any questions, feel free to hit me up. pretty much any mistake you could make doing this for the first time, I probably made it on this car. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe. As you guys can see, we're at like 571 subscribers. I'm trying to grind, especially on YouTube. I'm trying to get back to like the very beginning when I started, I was doing like 2 videos a week. So I'm trying to still do 2 videos a week while working and trying to get out there and make content. But so hopefully you guys help me out, like, subscribe, get the word out there, and race videos are coming. So enjoy. All right, guys, Thursday. So I guess next for tomorrow actually makes a full week, 2 weeks since I took off, maybe. Anyways, as you can see, got the MFP crank support on there. So to me, the directions weren't really that great, but it's not that hard to figure out. You got your 2 long brackets on this one. This one's shaped oddly, so it's almost like an L, so the leg goes back in there. You have a little spacer right here that goes there, and then the long leg goes down at the bottom, and then there's a little L-shaped bracket. It sits underneath that bottom tensioner. So obviously we got our AC pulley on there, and it does clear. I was worried that it wouldn't, but I guess once you go to the 10 rib setup, you have to relocate the alternator and you have to get a different bracket. So as far as the 6 rib goes, this clears. We have our crank support on, so finally, I'm glad I didn't waste like $900 on that, and I can use it because I didn't think that AC belt was going to clear, but I have a little bit more of a finger space on top, and the bottom is a little bit less. I actually can't fit my finger in there on the bottom, almost, if I kind of force it. But that's also a brand new belt, and it's the belt we have for the 3.25 pulley. So I believe that belt is it 81 inches long? 81 or 84. I want to say it's 81. But everything's torqued down according to the directions. Our number should be about 100 on the tensioner. The arrow should point to 100 up there. So when we look down here, we are like 101. So, but like I said, that's a brand new belt. So I'm sure once it stretches a little bit, we'll be at that 100 range. So I'm not too worried about that. The AC belt was a challenge to get on there. I had to tuck it in behind the crank and then get on the AC and then slowly crank it over. But the belt kept slipping. So I probably put like 4 to 6 zip ties on there to hold it as I cranked it around. Yeah, but you gotta be careful because it will want to jump a rib on the AC pulley towards the inside. So had to pop that back over, which was a pain. I mentioned it last night, but there was another fitting under here, you can see. So I went to O'Reilly's and they had I think it was a 1/8 NPT fitting. So we got that in there, and I have my vacuum hose on there. So this one will either be for the boost gauge, or I'm thinking it's gonna actually go over, probably route behind the blower and come over here for my fuel pressure regulator right here. So probably wrap it around behind, trying to make it look pretty. This line is a hard line. It's not really a vacuum line, but that's what Whipple gave me. But the problem is I need to tap that and find a way to make this hose fit to it, because this is the vacuum tees that P3 supplied. Anyways, I need to tee it here. I'll probably run it the same way as the other one, and then probably through some of these grommets over here over to one of those grommets, because the vent is on that side for the driver's side. So our little P3 gauge, which is right here, will go into the vent, and I believe it sits like that. So next that leaves is our hose right here. Once I get the radiator put back in, needs to go to the top of that, and then it has to come down, if you guys can see it in here, to this fitting right here. So obviously I think we messed up and we mounted everything up top first. So I think I'm gonna try to detach this T right here and see if that will give me enough room to get in there and clamp that hose on. All right, guys, kind of looks like a hot mess, but we ended up cutting the side brackets off of here. That's why they look silver. But we cut those off because before the heat exchanger was pushed back, and we also lowered it well, maybe we didn't lower it, but anyways, we brought it forward some. So now this 90 degree and everything is fitting much better, and we got room to run, because one of these lines is going to run from this Y through here and then through there. So got that figured out. The top looks a mess right now, but we're trying to figure out what lines go where, and our reservoir goes there. So we were just kind of mocking everything up. I got to torque down the pulley anyway, so got the tank mounted, finally figured out all the lines, guys, and it was such a pain. So it looks like a mess right now. They're all where they're supposed to be. We're going to cut them down, trim them, but you actually usually don't see a lot of these lines because there's an air box right here. And I wasn't going to run it at first, and even with the air intake on here, you wouldn't really see some of these lines. However, I'm gonna talk to my dad about maybe moving the fuel pressure regulator if we can, depending on how much play we have with our fuel lines, so I can run the box now. Just because one, is going to clean everything up, and then two, you know, I guess IATs and things like that. Had to take the throttle body off just because there is a line right down here, which we had the wrong hose on, so that's the correct hose up top, so we got to put that one on there, and I believe that goes to the overflow of the radiator. Not 100% sure. We do have one more line. I got to see if I can find it at my house. I think it goes from the bottom of here to the front of this. But yeah, almost there. Guys, one more thing I forgot to mention. Fuel pressure regulator is hooked up. Was able to tee into the bypass right there, and then this line right here is my boost reference, so that comes all the way around, comes through the same spot where we've been going through for our everything, and then in through this grommet where you see this red wire for that red wire is the power wire to the fuel system, but right above that is my little thin vacuum line, and then that runs right in here. Right now it's at the bottom of the car, so I'll also have to pop this plastic off, take this vent out, see what condition our vents from eBay are, disassemble that one, put our P3 gauge in there, and then we will have our boost gauge right there. So hey guys, so day 16 has been an absolute fight. Made a little jumper wire out here by removing this little fuel relay, and if you go from 3 to 5, they're across from each other. We primed the fuel system, but back here we had fuel go everywhere from our fitting, so it wasn't great. So we ended up flipping it around the line that was good, and we ran it up top. So we at least know that that is not leaking up here anymore. And since it came disconnected down there, we just went ahead and ran the feed-10 into this gas can, and we're just slowly tapping the relay up here to drain all the 93 out of it. And then once we get the 93 out of it, we will have to try to redo our connection here to the fuel filter, which is over here, and you guys can see that the pressure just blew this line completely off. So we just unthreaded it. So hopefully once we get that end fixed, it will thread up fine, and then we can reconnect it. Well, we got to make our fitting there and make our fitting here where our line came apart, and then fingers crossed, that all this stuff up here is good once we get it reconnected and that we don't have any more leaks. We got one line to do here. Jalen went through and started putting hose clamps on everything, put our throttle body on, coolant, oil, and then maybe start it up tonight. And everything's ripped back apart again. So just got done taping up the cylinder head so nothing falls down in there. I'm in the process of trying to remove the head cooling mod just to double check while I'm this far that we got everything tight. We had E85 filled up in the car. We got our fuel pressure to build up to like 30 or maybe even 40. But then our line on the back of the blower right here started leaking. So that's tight now. Might try to do something about that kink, or I might leave it. I don't know yet. Might try to loosen up this side and get that line to sit a little bit better. But yeah, ripped everything back apart because both sides were leaking, but we got lucky and this one was leaking out the fitting, so I was able to tighten this up by removing the fuel injector and the rails on this side and got down to it.
which was a pain to try to get those bolts in. So I see why they tell you to go ahead and put those on there while it's out. And then we hooked everything back up, and this was leaking, but I could see it leaking from underneath here. So got that fixed. All right, guys, I think this is day 17. As you can see, the car seems pretty complete. However, I believe, because we started it up today, so I'm gonna go ahead and insert a clip of that.
This is our garage and our vehicles before startup. Hopefully it'll all still be here after startup.
W low coolant.
Might be low. I got nothing but clutch. So after we seen the startup, I think our little fitting right back there is leaking. And definitely have to put more coolant in it. Maybe some more for the supercharger itself. But the big problem is, one, it kind of sounds like it has an exhaust leak somewhere. But two, the line that we thought was good for our feed line down there is leaking, and is leaking pretty bad. But oil's in the car, coolant's in the car, the tune went on no problem. The first start and the crackle that this thing does when you first fire it up is insane. So loud. So super happy about that. I'm sure you guys heard that in the video.